This is a regular update of emails I sent. So last update was yesterday, so this is update for today. At least I think I won't be sending any emails. It's almost 11 p.m. So this should be the last I sent today. So this is from the president of Higher Instance Court of Smederevo. That court decided on, so this is the sort of a request for additional data or information or whatever. So that was the court that decided on the complaint that I filed regarding decision of my late father's inheritance proceedings, which was a fraud committed by a judge of elementary court. I explained everything in other videos, so I won't explain it again. And this is the same story again with this court. So Higher Instance of Court Smederevo, where my father lived, that's in Serbia. And some people call it appearing court, but I don't know if this is correct. So the president, Sladjana Bojkovic, here. So she's again abusing e-signature, and in order to prove how what sort of breaking of the law this is, I created a video, and I'll show here actually two videos. But first one is about that abusing of the law on e-signature. So what I was doing here is again. So this is the email of main office of that court. So I listed everything, and I was going one by one to show if they are using the encrypted connection, because this is the precondition for in order to invoke the law on e-signature. And as you can see here, so I started from the one that's sent on December 6th to December 2019. So it's shown here that there's no encryption, and even in some cases there is no certificate, which is, I mean, unbelievable. So they need to have both of these by law. I mean, this is mandatory, and they don't have it. And of course, so this is not the case with higher instance of the court, but also with elementary court, and only these two courts were invoking that law of or on e-signature. which is a paradox and really a, let's call it game of destiny. It's impossible that all the other instances of courts and prosecution had everything done right with encrypted connection, but only those who were referring to these two courts were not using what is this? Something is wrong with the video. So this is a court of appeal. It is using the encrypted connection. Wait, just a second. So I think they don't even have a certificate in some emails. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it should be true HD or full HD. Yeah, that's it. Rush. Okay. So they don't even, in some instances, they don't even have the certificate, which is, I mean, really, really insane. So, so this is just going through the emails and showing that they don't have that all the other courts and prosecution officers have that, and they never were invoking that law, and the one that were invoking that law, these two courts don't have encrypted encrypted connection. I mean, really amazing. Okay, so I think that should be it. And there's something special here. Maybe at the end I think I added something. Yeah, and these two courts also blacklisted me. So, but again, as I wrote into the email that I'm recording now, that was the job of the president, which again is a paradox. So the president of the court needs to take care of that. I mean, to take care that everything is according to the procedure. She is the one who should. Yeah, and this is very, very interesting. So this is the mail they sent today. So today, and also it says here it's 9th of July. So they now have the encryption. So now they figured out that probably they're again spying on me because I have notes on that. I should create a video that is showing some of the compromising pictures, that is screenshots, 25 of them out of 718, I think. 18. So 18 and 7, yeah. So 693 were left and 35 were removed. They thought I won't notice that, but what is interesting is that, maybe I mentioned that in another video, is that I wasn't using network during that time. So I was preparing everything and I wasn't using network, and they still removed it. I have several videos on very strange behavior. This is on iMac, boot camp on iMac. So those 4 videos show that even when at least it is shown in the settings, even there is no network, so all networks, type of networks are red. There is something going on the network. So typical spy. Okay, so they managed to change this, which is, as I wrote in this email that I'm now recording, which is directly admitting that they were wrong. So directly. So all those years, so from December 2019, at least this court and the other court, elementary court, I think they even did that, didn't have an encrypted connection. That was I think beginning of 2019. So all this time they didn't have it, and now they suddenly had. I mean, on this date, which is really, as I said, amazing. But what they didn't do right is that certificate. Sorry. Is that certificate is still not trusted. So I think that I'll show now. Yeah. So they still have problems. And let's see if there's something else. I think that's all. Yeah, there's something in the end. Yeah, I was playing the video which is from this week, where basically the staff of document office in elementary court didn't want to tell me if the notes have signature, notes on inheritance proceedings have signature and the seal, because that was the way the judge committed the fraud. So he didn't add that, didn't sign it, and he gave the participants of inheritance proceedings the notes without signature and seal, which is of course illegal, and he did that, as I already explained, in order to fake then the final decision. So the final decision is basically notes written down to another paper. That's it. So he did that in order to remove the part on international organized crime. So I asked him to add that, because he said he didn't have time to read all the papers I sent him, which is again illegal. So in this video is shown that the staff that answered my call don't want to give me that information. So I simply asked her if in the document office. That document, I mean the set of documents related to my late father's inheritance proceedings, has the notes with the signature and seal. I mean, this is the information that I can ask by the law. Nobody can prevent me from getting that information, yet this lady refused to give me that, which is, again, another scandal in this whole story. Yeah, so I played it. And I gave them showed them the description, and I think that was it. Yeah. So that was the first video, and the second video is the proof that I warned all state institutions, including these two courts, that on the law of on e-signature in October and December 2019. So if they did everything according to the law, they should not. They cannot not use it, but really abuse
also
it.
Here that I warned the elementary.
So I just needed to prove that I sent in the email the address to G Drive where there are screenshots basically of emails, and one of these emails contains explanation when you can use the. So I proved here that this is the High Court, Variances Court in Smederevo, Serbia, where my father lived, the area. So in one of those screenshots that these emails is shown when that law on e-signature can be applied, can be invoked. And I now yeah, so I'll click the link. See where this leads. So I click the link, then this G drive is open, and the screenshot of email is in the first directory, and then I explained in details about the invoking of that law, what are the things that must be stated, and so on and so on and so on.
Elements of
And
this is my Twitter, and if you go to
that is something else. And I also shown in the same video how they manipulate the basically how they manipulate invoking the law, the certain part of the law, or even the law, because they either mention law without stating exactly what law, or they are just stating the law but don't state the part of the law, meaning the article, paragraph, or point. So I explained here in details. So there are three cases when you must ask for identity of the sender of email. None of these can apply to my situation. I explained that in detail here. So let's see if there's something else. yeah, so this is the fraud that I mentioned about not mentioning the law or not mentioning part of the law, which is again mandatory. This is how they manipulate the law, and they are randomly are using some definitions. I mean, in the way it fits them. Again, this is illegal. So that was the second video, and then I wrote about this new encrypted connection, but with the existing problem of certificates, so the certificate is not trusted. And I gave my view on who judges really are, but they don't have the education to actually do their job properly. So their education is not properly defined. I mean, they don't have logic. I explain that in another video. So they don't have logic as subject in which should be mandatory in their law studies. And again, I mentioned that law is not a science. Everybody knows that. So, I mean, all the scientists, real scientists. So the law is pseudo quasi-science or quasi-science. What's that? No, I'm in Serbian Syriac, so I cannot switch it now. Okay. So again, if judges had their knowledge which is needed to decide on some complex matters, then you won't need experts. And that is important. So both judges and of course prosecutors are not scientists, so they cannot decide on science. Same goes for politicians. So the best example is that guy, what's his name? Al Gore, right? So with those swollen upper eyelids, and the guy's really, what's the real word? I cannot remember now. But I mean nothing good. Piece of work, yeah. So the guy is really piece of work. I think that's the right word. So he's famous for talking about science, but as remember, his education is not really something that he can brag about. I think that's the right word. Okay, so I mentioned here that their example, what they did here, confirms what I claimed all the time, that well, basically it comes down to real science versus pseudoscience. So what they did here again proves that, I mean, the fact that judges and presidents of the court, so both presidents of the court, presidents of both courts were invoking the law on his signature, and obviously they know nothing. I mean, they don't know how this works in the first place, and they don't know what that means. So again, they are just moderators of the law. This is again something about prosecution of appeals in Belgrade, their frauds, and so on and so on. So I explained here how they are abusing definition of some documents, namely crime report versus additional documents. I think that's the right word. Let's see. Submission. It says here submission. Okay, so they're basically calling we're calling my crime report. Obviously, they just renamed it submission. At least what Google Translate says. So additional document. So additional information of some document that's filed before. And I here explained what any request that court prosecution sent to citizen must contain. So what, where, how, what, where, what documents are there, and if in this case they are on some alternative places, media, and so on. So in my case, it's G drive. They almost never mention G drive. Then how? How it's sent? How it's sent. In my case, it's email that must be mentioned as well. Then why? In this case, the state prosecution of appeals in Belgrade sent my crime report to higher instance of the court, which is insane, and they haven't stated the law which allows them to do that. And the last is when, but even this last, so they, in most of the cases, I mean almost always, they're missing this very important information. So when, what, where, how, and why. They're missing most of them. And in some cases, even this when part is missing. And I mentioned here who did that. So this was the assistant of the prosecutor, or better, I think better word is more appropriate to US terminology is counselor. So this was the counselor of the higher instance of prosecution now, Smederevo, and there are some general remarks. Again, I mentioned that lawyers don't have the appropriate education to do their job, and they've shown that multiple times, and hundreds of times in my cases of my family, and also it was my case because that notary tried to frame me. So let's see, is there something else? Yeah, I asked about some mysterious complaint that was mentioned in the video I shown when I was talking to the staff of the document office. of elementary course. So that lady mentioned that somebody filed a complaint. That wasn't me. And what is strange what is strange here is that there is no any room for complaint in case of my father's inheritance procedure that is the decision on it. So I really don't know what's happening. Something really strange is happening. It should be decided on 12th this month. But again, even about this matter, that lady didn't want to talk. So I asked her what this complaint is all about, and who is acting on it, and she didn't want to say. Okay, let's see if there is something else. Yeah, I mentioned here that I accomplished my main goal, which is to involve all the state institutions, including the ones that are in charge of choosing judges or recommending them. And of course, you mentioned the crime report I sent to DOJ, US DOJ, that is to AG, Attorney General, Mr. Dowland, and of course to Senate. I didn't have the email of Senate, of US Senate, but I think they forwarded to them. They will forward the email to them. So, yeah. And I also notified the DA, Justice Department, DOJ, using Twitter on that email that I sent, because they haven't confirmed that they received it. So I think that would be it. And now just to show a list of people that should receive this email. What's very strange, after I was tweeting a lot of people in US especially, some popular people, so I was tweeting them, suddenly there are no emails blocked. I think none of them is blocked now. Even though I added the last one, I added this one, this email. So this is the first set. Basically, mostly prosecution courts, police, military, and at the end there are journalists. And then I simply forwarded that email to another list of people, or set of people. So these are some other institutions, ministries, and so on and so on and so on. And in here I added this lab where they basically committed a fraud by faking the results of the level of mercury in blood, because all three of my murdered family members are poisoned for 10 years, poisoned with mercury. And what's important about that poison is that it's almost the same, the symptoms are almost the same, I mean basically the same as with Parkinson's and Alzheimer. So but the only thing is that when if somebody stop or if you're poisoned from some source in your environment, if that poisoning stops and you cleanse your body using, I think that's called chelate or halate modification, usually with chlorophyll or zeolite, you basically return to normal, which is impossible in case of Alzheimer and Parkinson's, officially. Okay, so I think that was it regarding the emails I sent today. There are some confirmation, but nothing special. So I think I covered everything here.